Sorry, I just, is that only for HSC staff or private nursing homes?
It can be either, so it doesn't
Okay.
really matter. It's anybody that's in a situation where they're caring for somebody with dementia. So whether that's a community care, home care worker, whether that's a nursing home staff, whether that's a family carer, whether that's, somebody who's volunteering, in a daycare centre, for example, or volunteering to care for somebody. It's really, the emphasis is on the person who is caring for somebody with dementia.
Perfect, because just mentioned HSC home care workers only, that's why. Sorry, thank you.
No, I understand that. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's fine.
okay, that's
I
great. Thank you.
think just to clarify, at the moment, the first phase for the HSE
Okay,
specifically, and not the ETBs, is to roll it out within the community because they're lone care workers, so they really need that training initially first. But certainly, within the ETBs, no, absolutely,
okay.
it's opened up to anybody in that care sector. Yeah,
Good news. Thank you.
no problem. No problem. Has anyone else any questions around the content piece? No, that's okay. I'll continue on, so that's okay, because I know the interesting area is always around in terms of the sample timetable. So I will go through this now. So if I just, before I bring this up, just in terms of the learning aspect of it, it's known as blended learning, and I always feel it's good to show what that means in terms of what does blended learning mean to us, because I think if you ask 10 people, the answer might be different. So it's an integrated learning experience, and by that what we mean is it incorporates live classroom delivery, and whether that is live online or indeed on site, and that can be delivered as both or either full or half days, and incorporated. And this is the really new piece and the nuanced piece that the HSE and the National Dementia Office really were strong on, was the whole mentorship piece. So in between your delivery in the classroom, you have assigned a mentor to you in this program. And this, in between your classes, you're going to link in with a phone call, or indeed it can be a Zoom or an online, whichever is suited to the student, will link in with their mentor on a specific day in between the classes. And that is a phone call, generally speaking, with your mentor. And the idea for this is that, unlike any other sort of training where you're going to go in and you're going to just listen to a whole lot of PowerPoint slides and then you go off, there's no real checking in with the learner to see, has the information gone in? Has that reflection piece been taken on board? And are they actually implementing that in their work practice? And that is the piece that the HSE were really vital on in terms of changing the cultures, in terms of how we care for somebody with living with dementia. So the mentorship piece is something that is really such a valued piece of the program. And from the last 4 years, certainly when I get the feedback in terms of evaluation from the learners, this is the piece that stands out for most of the learners, to have that ability to be able to check in with somebody, just a phone call in between, and saying, look, this situation came up, and I've learned this in the classroom last week, and they'll have a conversation about how they can apply it. And just for any concerns around confidentiality or GDPR and all of that, anything that is raised in those conversations are obviously highly confidential. They do actually, at the start of the course, sign what we call a mentorship contract, and it's really just to enforce that that is confidential. Now, having stated that, if there is some sort of safeguarding issue, what we will do is then the Chevron College will relay that back to the learner's employer. Because obviously any safeguarding issue must relay back, and then that is uptaken within your own policies and procedures and steps for any safeguarding issues. So I think that's important to mention. It's something that Chevron College will relay in terms of feedback, but then you will follow that up in terms of your own policies and procedures. So really, what does the blended learning do? It encourages students to explore, to examine, and to investigate the content. is that we want the learners being involved. The content, as I said, is not a PowerPoint presentation. It's about getting down. It's about involving them. It's about having conversations. It's about group work. All of that takes place within the classroom, and it's getting them involved. And it's really looking for them to get, to find meaningful, but, information in ways that are relevant to them and their current work experience in terms of caring for somebody with dementia. And also, it allows the students to show how knowledge and learning can inform practice and enhance caring experience. So we're again blending both of them. So you're getting knowledge. How is that learning impacting your work life within the caring for somebody with dementia? I see there's a hand up, Donna. Yep.
Hi, sorry, can I just
Hi.
ask you one question in relation
Yeah.
to the full and or half day? What do you mean by full and or?
It's either, it's basically you can have it as both. So again, it's a client focus. So we deliver full day delivery, or we can do evenings. So for example, and I'll show you example on the timetable, if that's okay. So for example, we do a blended version where we would do evening classes. So rather than having one full day online, we'll break that up into 2 evenings. And then we do on-site days, which are full on-site days. So it's a blended program. Now, having said that, we have clients that have come to us and said, look, we would prefer that we can deliver the online versions during the day. We can do that too. So if you deliver a morning session, we can do that. So, it's very client focused. So I would work with the client via the ETBs and say what works for you in terms of staff, release and so on. So we're very flexible. The only thing that we have to do on this course is we have to have 2 full days on site, because it's the blended program through QQI. That is an essential part of the program. And then they'll come in on the last day of the program is essentially they'll get booked in for their practical exam. So it's not a full day. It might be an hour and a half or so. I'll go through this sample timetable if that makes sense, because it visually would look easier if that's okay.
Yeah, sorry, can I just ask one more question?
Of course
when
you can.
say the on-site days, is that based at Kilkenny ETB
Yes.
location, or is that somewhere in Dublin? No, it's Kilkenny
Kilkenny
location. Right, perfect.
Yeah, it'll be Kilkenny.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Pamela.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, we came across this course ages ago when Gabrielle mentioned fetch courses to ourselves, and that's what we've been promoting. So the ones that are on fetch, they are these courses. Are they? Can I just double check? So because we do have a couple of candidates now working, and we've seen on their CVs that they have completed their dementia care training through QQ, like the QQI recognised one.
Yeah,
And they did them
The
online.
HSE recognised one, is it?
Yeah. They're on fetch courses.
Gabrielle, you'd have to answer that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose, Pamela, we can have a look at it afterwards, but like it'll depend on each of these modules are identified, I suppose, by a module number. So like we've a specific, so this one has a specific module number. So that's what you would need to check on it. But most of the courses on Fetch, anything to do with healthcare and all of that, are generally QQI accredited programs. And that's in the general terms, but I can have a chat with you afterwards, maybe, to have a look and see what the individual ones you're talking about might be.
So this is the only HSE approved QQI program. I'm not familiar with any other QQI program in dementia care. Yeah.
No.
So
sorry, just to say, myself and Pamela would have been talking about other healthcare programs previously. So right. that's what that's coming in about. And just there, Donna, just in respect of the full day, half day, and all of that, at the end of this, just to say, like, we will be sending you an MS form with, just for you to indicate what kind of time frames suit you better for delivery if you're interested in going forward with it. So just to say, we'll come back to that as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So-
Sorry, Gabriel, just asked one more question in relation to that answer that you've provided for me. So when you decide, are you looking at from a group basis of all the people that are enrolling and then saying, okay, we've got so many, like it's almost like a vote basis. Most of the people are looking for a half day during the day, or most of the people, is it going to be a full day
Yep.
during the day? Is it going to be one or the other?
We anticipate, Donna, that we'll be running this a number of times. So
Okay.
the idea being, and we would have worked with Carl individually sometimes, some
Yeah.
programs, if you have enough people interested in your own organization, will put on the course dedicated to your particular organization.
Mhm.
If it's a case that, there might be 3 or 4 people from your organization, then we club them together with them. We show you the options that we have available for the kind of those group efforts, I suppose, whereby
Yeah.
people are coming from different organizations as well.
Yeah.
And we hope we will have a situation where we will have daytime provision and evening time provision.
Yeah.
But that's
Just
the
considering,
hope.
the healthcare system, they run on a 24-hour basis. So you've,
Yeah.
people doing weekends, you've people doing night rosters and everything. So they will get an
But-
opportunity if it doesn't suit the first time round, that there is an opportunity to maybe do it at the next, the next cycle that you're
Yeah.
putting one on.
And
Perfect.
I think the thing about it is when Alison goes through the program, you're going to see actually it's fairly manageable no matter what shift you're doing.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Thanks for that.
No problem. So if I just go through the assessment and then I'll bring up a sample timetable, because as I said, we've run this multiple times in this fashion, and a lot of people can do this because of we understand, it's the 7-day 24 role. We completely understand that, but we'll come back to that. So just in terms of the assessments, there is a practical role play that is recorded for QQI, and this is done on the last day on site, and this is something that they have to do in person. But like I said, it's not going to be a full day. They will be allocated times by the tutor, and generally speaking, this is roughly about an hour and a half per group, and it's a group of 3 people. Jill, keep me honest around this, but it's usually around that. They're usually around a half an hour per learner, but as I said, each group is 3. They'll come in, they'll get recorded, and then an hour and a half, then we'll move on to the next 3 and so on through that day. So there'll be time slotted.
I'd always say 2 hours, because sometimes if the group is nervous, they want to do a little bit of practice first and then they go into it. So
Exactly. But I think the important is that's of 3 people. So that's the good piece around that. And then they have a reflective learner. So that's the 60%. So this is a written assignment based on the units that Jill just spoke about. And roughly speaking, what we say, it's about 500 words per unit. So as you said, there's 6 units, and then there's a reflective piece. So it's 3,500 words that they do. We really encourage the learner, as part of reflective exercises, is to do that as they go throughout the course. Now, look, we all know that learners might leave it all to the end, but generally speaking, we found that they are writing their little bits together at the end of each session, and then they only have to then sort of put it all together, and that's 60% the learner record. I suppose there are alternative ways, and this is the piece to note. There is full support from tutors, the academic team here at Chevron College. There is a learner handbook, which is the Chevron Learner Handbook, and that goes through all of the policies and procedures in terms of, if they're sick, if they need extensions and all of that. We actually go through that with the learner, because as I stated at the beginning, it's Chevron College are the certified body for this course. So we will be actually certifying this course and not the ETB. So it's important to note that they go through that handbook. And as I said, we fully go through this with each learner before they enter a classroom. And they will also receive a learner handbook workbook, essentially, with the dementia content. And that is all uploaded via the Chevron Moodle, which they will have access to and be given access to before the class start date. And this is where they will review all of the content and the information. But as I said, we're there to support them through that, be it IT issues, be it, learner content queries. We've a team of people that we will relay that back to, but essentially they're talking to their tutor and their mentor throughout the program.